Upgrades.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Today, we are reviewing the latest film from writer, director, mogul, Tyler Perry. And this one is called Straw. And here's a quick synopsis. A single mother navigates a series of unfortunate events leading her down an unforeseen path where she becomes embroiled in a situation she never envisioned, finding herself at the center of suspicion in an indifferent world. This is again directed by, written by, produced by, everything by Tyler Perry, and it stars Taraji, Henson, Sherri, Teyana, Taylor, Sinbad, Rock Dunbar, and Glenn Truman. This cast, amazing. Not in this movie, but this cast is amazing. At this point, if you are going into a Tyler Perry movie and expecting a good film, I think it's your fault. And that speaks for everybody. If you go into a Tyler Perry film and you're expecting it to be good, that's your fault. Where the issue with Straw kicks into overdrive is the cast. The cast is extremely talented. And we understand the bragging points that we normally hear from these Tyler Perry productions about, we shot it in 3 days. Completed it in 4 days. Straw, with the cast that we have here, is one of the few times where you really feel that 4 days. Like, you really feel like, oh, that's why these decisions was made. That's why this film looks the way it does, because it was shot in 4 days. Because as we're introduced to Taraji's character in this film, nothing jumps off of the page about the character, but it's so much melodrama in this film. The first 15 minutes of Straw could be the hardest 15 minutes to get through to a film. I've never seen a character go through so much in 15 minutes. Tyler drugged this character through the ringer within the first 15 minutes. And I am confused if it was done to build sympathy from the audience, or he just felt that this is where the story needed to progress to. But by the time we get to this character down completely on her luck, and we get a tragic incident happens, and then she goes to a bank to cash a check. And there is where this film will completely lose anyone who understands what an entertaining movie should be. It felt like the film switched complete tones at one point in time, where we were going to get the mother story, that downtrodden mom who needs to do whatever she can to take care of her kid. Like, that's an interesting story if done properly. And then it completely flipped to this bank hostage type of situation, type of story. John Boyega did a movie last year that actually did it 2 years ago, and I believe it came out last year, where he was a man in complete breakdown in a bank, and we see everything he went through. This feels like a cheap imitation of that film. And that says a lot, because again, the cast is here for it. Unfortunately, the dialogue in this movie is absolutely horrendous, and there's no better way to say it. Some of the setup shots make absolutely no sense, and it does nothing to build and flesh out the characters to make an audience overly care about it. So when you get Taraji's character, she gets to the bank with Sherri Shepherd's character, and we see their interaction, and we see points in time where they're trying to connect these characters through their trauma, through everything that's going on of why she's in this bank, and none of it feels realistic. At points in time, it felt like you were watching a soap opera. That's how bad the acting was in this, is that it felt like you were watching a soap opera where, and if you're not accustomed to soap opera acting is everything is over the top. That's how Straw feels. Everything was heightened and over the top. And the moment you get to that element of this film, I think you get completely lost, because unfortunately with these Tyler Perry productions, you can't necessarily depend on production value or the best script possible, because it feels all rushed here. And that's just sad, because this is a cast where you would wish, instead of keeping this mode up to brag that you did something in 4 days, How about you take 60 days and give a good film? And that's, again, the biggest issue with Straw is that no element of it is realistic. You are supposed to believe that this woman is going through so much trauma throughout a 15 to 17 minute period, that she's going through so much trauma. And yet, and still, she's still chipper and remains positive, like the world is going to work itself out, when you're just stuck as an audience, like, you can't be this naive. And that's the problem. It feels like, for the first time I've in a while of a Tyler Perry film, for me, is he didn't necessarily have respect for the characters. And if you don't have that respect from a directing standpoint, I think your movie will always fall flat. And I'm not saying it meaning that he rushed it and he didn't actually care about the characters. I'm saying he didn't know how to emote that into the screenplay or in the direction, how much he cared for these characters. So instead, you have Taraji out here on an island attempting to carry a movie with horrible dialogue in it. And that is the crux of the issue again with Straw, is that along with none of it being believable, none of the performances are necessarily good in this film. This is a real struggle film to have to sit through. As it gets to a point where you're just like, okay, I'll cut it off and I'll go back to it. And that's how it feels with Straw. And I don't necessarily believe that's the attempt of Tyler to pull that off. And I do believe that he's earnest in attempting to put as much content out there for not only a Black audience, but Black actors to be in, which it should be respected. The problem is, if you're going to get these aren't subpar projects. These are projects that should never been made. If you're going to get this type of project out and give it out to the world, it's a possibility that maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe we go a year or so without this necessary content, because in the end, it ends up hurting a lot of people, because you don't want people to point to this in your filmography as something that you actually did. And that is the problem with Straw. It just feels incomplete and rushed and cheap all at the same time. And because of those elements, it can leave an audience member wondering, why am I still sitting here and why I'm not leaving out of this house and going somewhere else instead of watching this film. But Straw, which released this weekend on Netflix, out of a possible 10, I am going to give Straw a 3 out of 10. I'm never one to saying that you should bash Tyler Perry, but it becomes a point in time where we can all admit he's not necessarily a good writer. I believe he has talent as a director, and he needs to bring other people in to write these type of stories for him. Instead, you get a very weak story that doesn't make any sense with a huge twist at the end. And when you get to that huge twist at the end, you're kind of wondering, why would you even need this? It just feels bad and pointless multiple times throughout this film. And again, Tyler has to deal with Netflix. We're going to get so much more of these type of projects. But at this point, if this is going to be the quality of work we get, you might as well just play Medea the entire time, because at least it's a sense of joy in those films. Here with Straw, it was so so heavy-handed in attempting to want to make people cry, it became silly after a certain point, and then it became unwatchable after that. This is not a film that I don't think has a target audience, but outside of people who love Tyler. And for that reason alone, I don't necessarily see how this film's going to do anything that's going to impress people. But again, it's fine. We understand this is a Tyler Perry production. I did not go into Straw expecting anything of a good film, and I got worse. And I'm fine with it, because that's the way we go about it with Tyler Perry films. But check it out. Again, it's currently on Netflix. Check it out and let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.